Hey everyone, how are you doing? I'm here with Shawn, the owner of Brute Force Games, and he's going to give you all the knowledge.
How's it going, everybody? Happy to be here. Ready to answer some questions.
For everyone that's ready to open their own LGS, and it's easy, right?
Yeah, yeah, super easy. Yeah, it's definitely very rewarding, but yeah, it's people are correct when they say it's one of the harder careers out there.
Hey, is it? How are you? And I saw So Pro on there. Welcome, welcome. Hey Taco, how are you doing?
Yeah, starting me off with the hard-hitting questions, huh?
Uh-oh, something happened there. Yeah, the hard-hitting questions you've got to make it hard, right?
That's right.
I hope that everybody's doing well on this Thursday. We've got a special stream. We've got Shawn with Brute Force Games, and he's been an LGS owner for a number of years out of San Diego. I love the scene there when I was in San Diego. I mean, such a supportive, awesome community. They support events of every kind. There's always Commander players going in and out. There's different games. My Heart in Pauper was supported there. I just can't say enough good things about Brute Force Games and what Shawn's created there.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I like I said, happy to be here. San Diego has a San Diego Magic community is definitely a very special place in my heart. I've been playing for a long time, San Diego born and raised. So even though now I've shifted to store owner, it's still a very important, very big part of my life. So, and I'm definitely excited to answer a bunch of questions tonight and maybe try to bridge some of the gaps on some of the confusion, especially with the new organized play announcement.
Yeah, I mean, perfect timing, completely planned by me. No. I wish I could take credit, but it does fall on a special day when they've talked about organized play coming back, the Pro Tour coming back.
Yeah,
Lots of exciting things that I'm hoping is going to stir even more excitement into the game, which will help LGSs, because that's kind of the ground foundation there is the LGS playing at the store, meeting people. So
absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And yeah, it looks like Taco, you got some pals in San Diego. Nice, nice. Well, I mean, let's get started with a little bit talking about the I'll pull it up here, the return of the Pro Tour. And
Sure.
we had talked how you knew a few things might be in the works, but they released that today. And just kind of as a store owner, as a person who's been around Magic for a long time and seen it come in and out, what are your thoughts? And do you see this as a positive thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. I think it's long overdue. People have been waiting for some sort of larger organized play announcement. Of course, COVID wasn't doing anybody any favors, and Wizards was definitely smart to sort of take a back seat with it. And I think we'll be better served for it because it gave them a very long length of time to really dial this in. They got some great people, like Huey, on their team
Right.
to sort of really look at this, really simplify it, get back to sort of what players want, what the Pro Tour is meant to be. And frankly, I think they nailed it. I think everything about the announcement I liked. The only thing that was a little disappointing is that we didn't see anything about upcoming Magic Fests. But that being said, I do think that those are coming. I don't think that they're going to get rid of Magic Fests anytime soon. They were obviously very popular. I can't imagine that they would just forget about those or abandon them. I just think that that is probably going to be a separate announcement.
Right.
So that's sort of my thought behind it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think they nailed it. I think you're never, as you've learned, you're never going to make hobbyists completely happy.
Right,
We're going to
right.
find something to complain about. But I think for the most part, it was a home run. And I'm hoping that later they do bring back maybe some Magic Fest opportunities for us to gather at some big standalone events. But yeah, it's super exciting. And let's talk about what you know about the process. We've got we were talking a little earlier about how how they partnered with DreamHack to
Hmm.
kind of filter out all the promos and the prize support. And I'm sure
Right.
folks are interested in learning about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just applied for it. So it does require an application. And basically, as long as you're a WPN store, you can go ahead and apply for that. WPN Premium, which Brute Force Games is, we also get an additional event. And this is something that I think is really smart on Wizards' part and something that I myself have asked for, as well as many other retailers, where we sort of want WPN as a whole to be a part of most processes, especially with events.
Right.
So when WPN Premium was one of the only sort of programs where you could run these higher level events, it didn't make a lot of sense because we want everybody who is a part of the WPN to run an event. And I feel like this is a great middle ground where every single store can run an event if they want to, and then WPM Premium is rewarded, and they get to run an additional event. So I think that that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I think that from what I've been learning today about DreamHack, it
Hmm.
looks like they have their stuff together so far. So as
Yeah,
you work with them, you can give updates during the process.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean they do one thing really well, and that's run tournaments. So I think we'll be okay in that regard. And they're just handling the sort of larger tournaments, right? So most of the events that our community and communities all across the world are going to be doing is at the store level.
Right.
So they're going to be grinding it out week after week. Just San Diego, Orange County, and LA, we're talking what, like 30, 40 stores. So that's, I mean, you're almost guaranteed to have 1 to 2 events almost every weekend.
Right.
So the grinders are really just going to be very rewarded. They're able to pick and choose their formats. So they're able to kind of come to the buffet with an
Right.
empty stomach, which is kind of nice.
And going over formats just to clear it up for folks, because people are asking for obscure formats to be run on these events.
Right.
What formats are we looking at for these kind of events?
Yeah. So there's 4 formats that are allowed. That's a Wizards decision. We don't have any control. So if we wanted to run EDH or Popper or something like that, that's just not something that we have any control over. So the 4 formats are Modern, Pioneer, Standard, or Sealed with cut to top 8
Oh,
draft.
that's exciting.
I know. Yeah.
Especially lining up with new sets coming out. Because I
Hmm.
know a recent announcements, which I think is great for LGS, is bringing back the pre-releases to before digital events, so that excitement
Absolutely.
happens first in the stores. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so that was a big change. A lot of retailers have been asking for that for a while. We sort of wanted that separation from Arena. I feel like a lot of us are okay with Arena. We just don't want to have our community pick and choose, but between the two of us.
Right.
So separating them with a week apart, I feel like is a great idea on their part. And yeah, I'm really excited to see how that goes. It's worth mentioning that Streets of New Capenna is a sort of a test run for that.
Okay.
So if it is not well received, and I don't know how WotC is going to determine whether it's well received or not well received, but that may or may not be for all pre-releases. So take it with a grain of salt. It'll be there for Streets, but it may not be there for subsequent pre-releases. Although I do hope it is there.
Well, it's Kamigawa was knocked it out of the park, and hopefully the next set
Yeah.
does, and it's successful, and they go that route. Because I know, like folks like us, what do folks call us, boomers? The magic of opening the packs before you've played it anywhere else in that LGS environment with your friends can't be
Right.
beat. So
Yeah.
I think
No, I agree.
going back to that is the way to go. It's interesting. They still yet to come. They've talked about the digital path lining up with that.
Hmm.
I know that obviously with COVID, they really leaned hard on digital magic and made a lot of moves in that realm. I know
Right.
that doesn't necessarily affect LGS in a sense, but one thing that some folks have asked that's interesting is, because of the digital piece getting so popular, do you feel threatened? Do you feel like that's either taken away people wanting to play in paper, or do you think it just adds to the excitement of the game as a whole?
So, from a data or sales perspective, no, we've seen substantial growth year over year despite COVID. Um, like for instance, we had 40% growth looking at 2021 compared to
Oh
2019,
wow!
and really what we wanted to do was we wanted to look at sort of post. I shouldn't say post COVID because COVID is still here,
Right.
but sort of post lockdown data compared to pre COVID and sort of see what our growth was, because pre-COVID our sales were very healthy, everything was fine, and then to still see that such a large amount of growth was just really sort of what we were hoping for when we were sort of comparing those two data sets. Um, Sorry, there's a lot of noise going on in the
Oh no,
background.
that's fine.
Uh, so I think lost my train of thought there. Um,
Growth.
so Yes, growth. And sorry, what was the original question?
Just talking about how digital has impacted in-store
Oh,
play.
digital.
Yeah.
Right. So, digital, I think when it first came onto the scene, as some of us, myself included, were sort of wondering what the impact is going to be. I think from an event perspective, attendance saw a little bit of a decline, mostly in the realm of limited, just because it's very easy to just plop on the couch after work and fire up your phone or tablet or
Right.
whatever and do a draft, and that's not always feasible to drive down to your local game store. And so we have seen a little bit of a dip in attendance on limited, but as far as like sales growth, people interested in the game, that has not really done anything since they've launched Arena.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting, and I know that Southern California's scene is much different than where I am here in the Midwest. But I will say that since my year being here, just the smaller LGS that I've been going to here,
Hmm.
boy, we've had to bake two pods for drafting the past few times, and that's something new, you know. So
Sure.
I see Paper Magic pretty healthy, pretty popular, and even we have Commander Night on Wednesdays here, and there's like 20 people showing up, and that's amazing. So
Yeah, that's
I think
great.
all the folks that are worried about Paper Magic, things like this, announcements like this, can kind of put some things at ease. I know I was at the beginning going, "Oh no, Paper Magic's what's going to happen?"
Right, right.
It's going
Yeah,
away.
and I think if and when they do announce other things like the return to Magic Fest or things like that, I just feel like that's really just going to solidify that sort of core base of like the sort of weekly players, the people that grind it out, the people that are looking to travel, and the casual players, they're always going to be there.
Right.
They don't care whether there's a pro tour or not a pro tour, but having those grinders also satisfied just means more people that are coming out. You have more people to play against, different deck styles. And I just feel like if everybody's at the table, it's going to be a much better experience.
Yeah, I think what keeps me coming back to the game is that there's something for everyone. You know, I went through that
Hmm.
phase where I was grinding GPs, trying to making day two, excited about that. And then I've gone now to a phase where I'm like, hey, let me play in side events and just hang out with hang out with
Right.
friends and have time to go eat and whatnot. And so definitely having something for the casual and the person that wants to be that professional player on the world stage is just great. And I think that there's room for everyone.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you.
Let's go. Let's talk to a few questions. So, folks, we've got some pre-questions
Sure.
people have put in the Discord. We'll go through a few of those,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then as we go along, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll pick them up as they go along. If you have any burning questions for Shawn that want to get your start in the business or wonder what happens behind the magic curtain,
Sure.
I think let's go back to the start, and can you give maybe just a brief history of your enjoyment of the game and what ultimately led you to opening a store?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I started playing about 1994. My first set was around Legends Ice Age, sometime around there. So most of my packs that I was purchasing in singles and decks and whatnot were around that era. I stopped at around Tempest, so I played for, let's see, that's about 6-ish
Right.
years. Um, and really, the main reason why I stopped is I just basically went to high school and sort of my hobbies shifted a little bit, and I just sort of forgot about it.
Right.
I'm sure that happened to a lot of people where they sort of started to move on, and then like so many of us, we never actually fully quit this game. It has our hooks in us from the start.
Right.
So later in life, after high school, after college, I wanted to meet up with a friend and play some Magic, sort of a nostalgia event. So I hopped on Craigslist, bought some Magic cards. We got together, we built some decks, and then we sort of played. Um, and after he left, I sort of didn't know what I wanted to do with these cards because I didn't have anybody else to play with.
Right.
He lived kind of far away, so it wasn't super realistic for him and I to get together super often. So I thought, okay, well, I had my fun. Now let me just go sell these things. So I hopped on a buy list, and I realized that the $50 worth of cards I bought, I could sell for about $126 to a buy
Yeah.
list. So that was very intriguing to me. So I sort of explored that as like, I guess, a passive income. Um, and then it sort of flourished. And I should mention it was very different back then. How you bought cards and how you looked up prices was like eBay completed
Right.
listings. There were like random websites. I don't even think Channel Fireball existed. Star City Games was in its
Right.
infancy, and I don't even think it had a website yet. And really, one of the best places to buy was Craigslist, like if you wanted to buy collections and whatnot. And it just sort of snowballed from there. Did that for a few years. And then there were a few stores that closed down in San Diego uh, around like 2010 ish.
Okay.
And that was because then San Diego was very crowded. We had, I think, 13 or 14 game stores at the
Oh
time.
wow.
So I didn't really have any interest in competing with them. A lot of them were my friends. That wasn't something that really appealed to me. But unfortunately, as stores closed, I sort of saw an opening to sort of get my foot in the door and sort of do what I had longed to do, which was have my own store. And I sort of just started moving down that path. And then the rest is sort of history. And then we just kind of exploded. So we just kind of like grew and grew. We were outpacing the size of our store. Like my first store was, I think, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, 2015. And then so we've sort of seen a lot of rapid growth, and the singles have always been the sort of core of what I offer. Buying, selling, that has always been something that I've really enjoyed doing. So that at its core is what I always wanted to do, but then sort of bring that into an LGS model and sort of bring the sort of buy sell side into a more advanced technological setting,
Right.
past the glass case, past the 5K box, where you're looking for that card, you're sorting endlessly. And there is something very awesome about going through a 5K box. But what we found is that so many other people just wanted to come to us, get the ease of online shopping,
Right.
but with like a local community attached to it. And we sort of fell into that and really leaned into it hard.
Yeah, it's fun finding those gems in that 5K box, things like that.
Right.
But as technology advances, everyone knows where those gems are. There's no secrets.
Right.
When you're
Right.
trading, you have the apps pulled up, and everybody knows what they're getting. So Definitely people are
Yeah.
looking for that convenience when they come into the store. They can just, do you have it? All right, let me buy it, and then let me sit down here at the table and play.
Yeah, exactly.
What along with the technology, Will there had asked, how is that deck sorting or the card sorting machine doing? I remember you all had recently gotten that before I left. I mean, where the technology of sorting Magic cards or cards in general is something else.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic technology. We've had a sorter for I think maybe 3 or 4
Yeah,
years. So we have the second generation model, um, and really it does something very well, and that is sort and sift through Magic cards. And um, I have found that staff in general is fine with doing that for a little while, but if they had to do that for 8 hours, 5 days a week, it's very mind numbing work,
right.
and I would rather just shift that workload to a robot who is never going to get tired or bored, and I can sort of remove that burden from staff,
Right.
and they can get back to sort of doing more human things, like running the store, fulfilling orders, things that talking to people. That's what we were meant to do. We were not supposed to sit in a cave and sort Magic cards for 8 hours, 40 hours a week. It's just not a great. I just wouldn't wish that on
Right.
anybody.
Well,
So go
no,
ahead.
I was just saying. I'm reminded when you asked for some help. Opening some booster boxes of new sets,
Sure.
and even though that's fun, you're right. After a little bit of time, you're like, okay, I'm done sorting cards, and that's just
Right.
someone that did it just a little bit, let alone doing it day in day out.
Exactly. And that's the great middle ground where everybody's super excited, everybody loves to open packs. When you hit that fourth or fifth hour, the fatigue sets in, it's no longer fun. You've already seen all the rares, you've already seen all the mythics, and really you're just holding out for like a foil mythic, and if you hit it and then you're like, okay, well, now I don't know what to do. Now I'm just like kind of doing this to do it.
Right.
And it's the exact same principle. So unfortunately, that is not something that we can outsource yet.
Right.
So really, I would just, you know, like to get to the point, at some point, where some of these more tedious, mind-numbing jobs, you just don't need staff to do it, because you can just outsource that.
Right. And I
So,
think what a store like yours that's so successful is the interaction with the staff. That's the one
mhm,
thing that you hear over and over again. We joke about it, angel hugs,
right,
but when we come down to it, that stuff matters, and that's what keeps people
it does.
coming back. We've all grown up or been around the stores where it's dark and who's here. There's these older kids and not very inviting. We've
Yeah,
all seen that, and to have a store
the
that's
clubhouse.
inviting, it really impacts people in a positive way.
Yeah, so that's sort of one of our guiding principles. So that's something that I call UVP, or unique value
Oh, I
proposition.
like that.
It's basically like, so if you're going to come to me, or any local game store, who is arguably going to be a little bit or a lot more expensive than, say, Amazon,
Right.
what am I offering to make that a more palatable option for you? And one of the many things is UVP. So whether that is a community aspect, whether that's friendly interaction with staff, whether that's fun events, whether that's super competitive events, whether it's a place to play, there's a lot of these different UVP aspects that stores should really be focusing on. Who do they really want to be? What do they want to offer? And really, how are they able to compete with Amazon outside of just being the absolute cheapest available? Because you just can't do that.
Right.
You just can't beat Amazon when it comes to pricing. So you have to sort of beat them in other ways.
Yeah, and that's what it comes back to, and that's why here, let me add the BFG link again to the chat. It's something that you definitely want to support the LGS because there's the convenience of the WalMarts, there's the convenience of of Amazon and hey, nowadays everyone's budget's tight and that's not going to change. But you've got to support those communities that do give you a place to play, that does give you a place to connect. And,
Right.
if it's going to be just a little bit more on a box or something like that, look at all the things you're getting, angel
Mm-hmm.
hugs. I mean, come on. You can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. And when we were sort of discussing Art, and Art was my former manager for a number of
Okay.
years, and when we were discussing whether or not we really wanted to lean into like the technological side, having people shop from a laptop, there wasn't really anybody in San Diego that was doing it.
Right.
So and from our limited testing, customers didn't seem like super interested in sort of like having to punch in their order and all that stuff. But what we really wanted to offer more than anything is the convenience of online with your LGS attached to it. And we thought if we can do this, if we can figure out a way to make it so easy for people to order from us, whether that's cards or whether that's sealed product or sleeves, then we get another one of those UVP aspects where you're able to compete because you can, if you want right now, you can go place a commander order on our site. We close in 30 minutes and you can pick it up tomorrow.
Right.
And, the value of that, I feel like not enough stores give that ease and that convenience enough credit. So.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. The draw is the community, the extracurricular things that you're offering on the sales side of things with technology. People just know what they want. They brewed
Right.
a deck online. Hey, let me see if my LGS has it. I'll pop in there, sleeve it up, and play it. So, kind
Right.
of having both of those things working together is a perfect piece.
Yeah.
Another big question that we have to get out of the way, that we have to talk about, is COVID and
Sure.
how that impacted you, how that's impacted. I mean, obviously, it's impacted everything.
Of
But
course.
my goodness, how did you make it through that? Any lessons learned? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so one of the main lessons learned, and I say this to not offend any players. We love running organized play in the store, but a lot of retailers have always wondered if we didn't do organized play in store, would we still be successful?
Right.
And COVID sort of showed us that we had 2 years of nothing in store, no events, no nothing. And we we still saw the same amount of sales, the same amount of growth, and I don't think that the industry would do very well long term. Like, let's say all stores just got rid of organized play.
Right.
I feel like they would do fine and the casuals would go on, but I do feel like it would have a negative impact in the long run. Plus, I just feel like I love running organized play, and I know a lot of other stores do as well. But that was definitely one of the interesting lessons that we all learned. Um, and as far as making it through, just really leaning into the community aspect, and just being honest with people,
Right.
just being like, look, we don't want to be closed. We know that you don't want to wear a mask.
Right.
I don't want to wear a mask for 9 hours a day. It sucks, but like, there's a line that we sort of had to draw in the sand, and it's like, this is what sort of we're being asked to do. If you can still come and shop with us, we would really appreciate it. If you can't, we hope you'll shop with us once all of this blows over. And what we sort of found is that people were just like, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to come shop with you because I need to make sure that you're going to be here. Once we can return to play and
Absolutely.
whatnot. And it just sort of snowballed from there. The first 2 months, sales dipped dramatically, and I remember posting about it. I was like, sales are down 40%. This is actually kind of crazy. Like, we would have been fine. We would have made it through just because various things. But sort of seeing that slump and then sort of roller coastering up from a variety of things, I think people just got more comfortable with spending their money. We had stimulus, which really did its job at stimulating the economy.
Right.
You can argue whatever you want about whether or not the stimulus was good or bad. But it definitely did its job. Every time a stimulus happened, we just saw a massive influx of sales and people coming in and shopping, and really supporting their local community, and it was great. And so really the main thing that kind of kept us afloat was everybody that shops with us year round, and we're super thankful for that.
Yeah, I think I definitely think you got some of my stimulus money. because
Yeah.
because I and all jokes aside, I think that because you had built that community that appreciated everything that you did, there was that support. I mean, I remember
Right.
when COVID happened, it was right before I was leaving San Diego that last year. And I remember coming to the front of the store and you had it very organized and very safe. And we could come and we could pick up our boxes and that sort of stuff. And the feeling was, hey, we believe in this store. We believe in the people. We know the people. Let's support it and get through this together. And I think that's what you saw.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree.
We got Scott in the chat. Hey Scott, how are you doing?
Oh, I
Hey.
should probably check out Scott, or not Scott, but chat. I should probably check out Scott.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Hey.
Let me check out chat here.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a few
Got a
few
bunch of
questions coming in, but it's good to.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I have to answer this. What's my favorite taco joint in San Diego? So tacos specifically, I really like going to Pancho Villa. So it's on El Cajon Boulevard, a little bit past. I think it's like around 33rd. So 33rd and El Cajon, somewhere around there. And they have my favorite carne asada tacos. Very good. Just your classic, two tortillas, corn tortillas, carne asada, cilantro, onion, and salsa. And that's all you really need for a taco. For burritos, there's a place called Don Lucio's Number 2. It's in Mira Mesa. I've gotten sick there 3 times, so I don't go. But man, I used to live at that place. I used to go there just about every single opportunity I could. So if you're feeling brave, go to Don Lucio's Number 2 and get the Hawaiian burrito for me. And put some green salsa on it. I will never do it again, but you can go out there and eat for me.
Oh my goodness, you're making me jealous. I miss my cheap, delicious fish tacos anytime I want. Let's just say in the Midwest, it's not the same. Let's just put that out there.
I believe it.
And then what was?
Yeah, what do you trade tacos for barbecue?
Yeah, there's some barbecue.
Okay.
But boy, I miss the San Diego tacos. And then Matt,
Yeah.
Brute Force Games supporter, asked about 40K sales. Expand 40K, because I guess some folks have gotten into the 40K events, things like that. What are your plans for that?
So we do carry 40K in store. We were sort of late to that party. Part of it is just we were always so Magic focused. It's like
Right.
hard to sort of find the time to like learn about other games and bring them in and stuff like that. So there are already some stores where like they are to 40K as we are to Magic. So we've always had a pretty light footprint in regards to that. We are very open to organized play as long as it fits sort of our surrounding events. Like we wouldn't like oust another game to bring in 40K,
Right.
but we're willing to squeeze it in where applicable. And if I'm being completely honest, I just don't know enough about 40K to know where to start. So, Matt or anybody, if you know a little bit about it, I'd love to just kind of sit down and pick your brain, and maybe you can just kind of become a champion for that game, and we can kick it off and get organized play off the ground, and then you can sort of just go back to being a player rather than, putting in a bunch of work with it. But,
There you go,
yeah,
Matt.
I'd love to have that discussion.
Matt's got his answer there now.
Not opposed to game. We love all sorts of games.
Absolutely. Speaking of different games throughout the years, obviously Magic's been a big part of the store, but what games do you see come and go throughout the years? Or are there any that you missed? Any surprised you of how well they did at the store? Or did you have any big expectations for some and they were just duds?
Yeah, no, Keyforge is one that myself and a lot of other retailers thought would be a fantastic game. And that's not to say that it isn't a fantastic game. It had Richard Garfield, the original creator of Magic. So that carries a ton of weight behind it. And sort of it just kind of fizzled out after the third set. It had a lot of supply chain
Oh, okay.
issues very early on. It was red hot the first like two sets, and then by the third set, I feel like a lot of people had just moved on because they like couldn't get product or whatever the reason was. And we just ended up blowing it out. So Keyforge is one that kind of flopped. Final Fantasy for us is one that did really well before the
Okay.
pandemic. We had a really solid community, bunch of great people, and then after COVID came along, it just completely fell off. We couldn't get
Oh, really?
product. Nobody was coming in for it. I think in like the year span of most of the lockdown, we did like $100 worth of sales in Final Fantasy, which is like abnormally low for any lines that we carry. So it got to the point where we were just like, look, we just can't focus on this anymore. So we sort of moved into other things. Um, and then the last one would probably be Flesh and Blood. That was one that a lot of people thought wasn't going to be a very
Right.
good game. They thought that it was mostly driven by speculation, and a lot of honestly the initial ramp up was. And then I think people just started playing it and realizing that it's actually a pretty solid game, and deserves a spot. And now it's actually doing pretty well. San Diego has a little bit of a smaller community. I would say like 30 to 40 active
Okay.
players, but they just do rounds at like all the stores. Like they just come out and play. So there's always pretty much a consistent 8 to 16 people at any given event.
If the Betray just asks if you have any versus system, and then I don't know the 2P CG players.
We don't. Is the two PCG, is that the revamp
It
one?
might be.
Because I know that there was a Versus system and then it went away and then they brought it back. And I have a good friend who is always looking for older Versus systems because he plays with a couple of his buddies. But either way, we don't carry any of the Versus systems, whether new or old. But I know Game Empire does, so that's my LGS, and they're out in Claremont
Okay.
Mesa. So shout out to Game Empire, Shawn and Cliff, longest running game store in San Diego. They're great. Come shop with us, but also support them.
Hey, it's a network. And I remember when I was
Absolutely.
there, I would go play Legacy during the week on a certain place and, hit Popper and draft at Brute Force Games. And, I think
Hmm.
folk, definitely sometimes people find where they are comfortable and they like to go time and time again. But there's nothing holding people back from supporting all the LGSs, especially if they're in an area
Right.
that just has a couple. I know that one here where I am is getting ready to open their doors again. And hey, if I can go in there and play in an event, buy some products, support them too, I'm all for it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I maintain that San Diego doesn't have a single best LGS. There are tons of LGSs that people prefer. Maybe there are stores that more people prefer, but we are uniquely diversified enough to where there doesn't need to be a best. Just go where you're comfortable, go where your friends play, go what's close to you, especially with gas being so gnarly. Just find a place that you really like, and if that's BFG, we'd love to have you. And if that's another store, we hope you have fun there. And San Diego has been really, really blessed with a lot of decent game stores.
And then
So.
Amy, who has been a supporter, runs large events digitally. I think I'm
Mhm.
understanding in the chat. Learn esport games in store. Is that what you're talking about, Amy? Because I do remember, Shawn, at one point, what was it? Smash Brothers you had going on in the store. People would come and play those events.
Yeah. Um, we did it. It didn't work
Right.
for us. It just uh, wrong crowd, a lot of setup, a lot of trip hazards, a lot of
Right.
blockage, and I feel like the like land center type places, the places that are really going to lean into those things, are much better suited than a random like comic shop or game store. I think what he may be asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are you talking about like arena events? So like if we had a bunch of people show up with their phones or tablets and they played arena against each other? Um, we're not opposed to that. We're I feel like it is almost better and easier just to have something like a Discord tournament for something
Right.
like that. Just because you don't need to drive all the way down, you don't need to worry about battery life or a bunch of noise because there's a draft going on behind you. So while we're not opposed to it, and if anybody ever wants to run an arena event, we can definitely try to set that up for you. I think you'll be better served just doing it through Discord or some other means, MTG
Because
Melee.
I know that what was it? And I kind of missed out on the Pokemon craze, but I know some stores had it where people showed up and they all had their DSs or something, and they were sitting across from each other playing Pokemon. I don't,
Oh,
yeah, I
sure.
don't
Yeah.
know if
I didn't do it, but I do remember that. It was like, yeah, just Pokemon battling. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think that that's a pretty cool idea, and definitely it's definitely interesting. I am kind of curious. Eventually, we're going to get to the point where digital is just going to overrun, and there's just going to be some sort of like crossover between the two. I don't know when that will be, and I don't know if that's going to be with Arena, but I'll be curious to know, or curious to see like kind of how that unfolds. Like, what is the LGS going to be like in 20 years?
right.
Like, imagine the technology that we're going to have integrated with the LGS. I don't think it's just going to be paper magic. I think it will be something else.
Well, and it's just kind of like the lesson from Blockbuster. As things change, you try to keep up with the change and adapt and keep things
Right.
interested. Because yeah, with how quickly technology's going, if you just sit there, you're going to miss out for sure.
Yep, I agree.
And yeah, Amy, we did watch the announcement and talked about the announcement a little bit at the beginning. But if you want to, now that a bunch more folks have popped in, if you just kind of want to summarize your thought on how it affects the LGS again, Shawn.
Yeah, it looks like they're asking about the announcement increasing the role of the local
Right.
store in they use PTQ, but I believe it's RCQ
It
now. Is
is.
that
Yeah,
it's the
let's pull it
regional?
up here.
Okay,
It's the regional.
it's going to take me a minute to learn
I'm going to
the
call it
new acronym,
PTQ.
but sure. I mean, I still call Magic Fest
Same,
GPs,
same.
so it's just you say what you're used to. Um, I love it. I think when they sort of formed the MPL and they sort of removed a lot of that path, the sort of
Right.
hometown hero aspect. I feel like the competitive aspect got hurt by that. I know myself personally, I need some sort of uh, com- competition or sort of pot at the end of the rainbow. Even if I never hit it, I need something to sort of
Sure.
aspire to. And I feel like that's how most competitive people are, not just in Magic, and really anything. Um, so involving the stores again in that process, I think is not only a great decision, but I think they'll be rewarded for that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we talked about it a little bit, but I think they nailed it, and I'm excited for future announcements and bringing in people like Huey and some other people that are trusted in the community looks to be paying off.
No, absolutely. That was a fantastic idea. I think he will serve the organized play committee well. He is more than qualified. He, I mean, he has so many Magic tournaments under his belt. He understands this. He understands the competitive aspect. My only question is whether or not he is able to sort of not have it be this like ultra competitive thing where there is still that sort of hometown
Right.
hero aspect. And I think in this announcement we've seen that he does understand that there needs to be a mixture of very good players and then people who are good and they sort of get good and then they sort of they just run hot one day and then they're at the Pro Tour. And that's what most of us are going to aspire to do. We're just going to have that
Right.
one heater event, and then we're going to make it, and then we have that sort of life changing
Yeah,
memory.
and that's always exciting. And I've had a number of friends, and I know that you have, who have kind of reached those high levels, and it's just been a highlight for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One interesting question here, we'll pull from a random one, is talking about interesting things that have come through the store. I know that you do a lot of buying of cards and things like that, but as far as selling cards,
Mm-hmm.
what's some of the big ticket items? People always want to know what's the most expensive thing you sold, what's the most rarest thing you've seen. Um, any thoughts on that?
Gotcha. So rarest thing. Yeah. So okay. So I'll set up and I'll leave out names just to keep it simple. And frankly, I don't know if they want me to talk about this, but I get a call from a store in the area, and they had just bought a bunch of really old Magic cards,
Right.
and I say, "Cool, let's meet up tomorrow and I'll take a look." They say, "No, you need to come down here right now." It's like 8 o'clock at night. So I'm like, I mean, it's 8 o'clock at night. I haven't even eaten dinner. And they're like, trust me, get over here. You need to see this. So I eat something real quick. I head over to their house. And it is the mother of all collections. There was a sealed Unlimited box. There was two sealed Legends boxes. There was packs of the starter decks of Beta, starter decks of Unlimited, booster packs of Unlimited. There was, I think, like 17 pieces of Power 9 Beta. So it was like one Lotus and then like beyond a 5 set of Moxen. And just like an absurd amount of older
Right.
stuff. And, we sort of sat down and we were like, oh my God, like, what are you going to do with these things? And sort of over the next couple of weeks, we came up with an agreement. I paid them a lot of money. And and then I got those the cards and the collection and everything. I think they kept a few things for themselves, but I got the lion's share of it. So, then I, needed to sell this stuff because I paid a lot for it. And I think the one thing that I regret is I sold a sealed box of Unlimited for, I think it was like 18,000.
Okay.
And that may sound like a lot of money, but I think right now it's like over
Yeah.
200,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes when I think back on that, I'm like, oh, that
Oh,
stinks.
we all have those. I was talking with some friends of mine that I've known. There's two good friends of mine, and we played Magic all the way from elementary school on. And
Sure.
thinking about the cards that we played unsleeved on the school floor, oh, it's just who knew, right? Who knew
Yeah.
that was
So we've bought a ton of stuff since then. I mean, I've sold like maybe 30 Black Lotuses in my lifetime. I did have somebody submit a buy list one time for 40 foil Gaia's Cradles, which I thought was going to be a scam. Like we had done some deals together in the
right?
past, but that's just a very particular number. And I was like, okay, sure, let's approve this. I think at the time we were buying them for like 250, which obviously is crazy by today's
Right.
standards. He sent them. They checked out. I checked every single one. I looped every single one. I got assurances from him. I got, I asked a bunch of questions about where they come from. And then, stuff like that really just kind of like stick out as weird moments. But most of my buy sell stuff is just like thousands of dual lands over the
Right.
years. And, we just, most of our stuff is like, $20-$30 cards. So, but we are constantly buying, constantly selling. We probably do process about 25 buy lists a day between local community and stuff that's sent into us, and those can range from like a $40 buy list to like a $5,000 buy list. So it's just really it's kind of all over
Well, I
the
know
place.
I don't know if you get tired, but every time I just tag you on Facebook whenever I see people selling lots. So if that
Yeah.
bothers you, I'm
So
sorry. I'm just like, oh, you talk to Shawn, maybe.
no, it doesn't. Please get tag me. I have like this little miniature army of people that are just constantly like shopping themselves, or like they like see something for sale and they're like tag
Yeah.
Shawn. And there's a bunch of other guys that like regularly buy. I don't even know if they own stores or what their deal is. But like they get tagged. So it's always like the usual suspects, right? Like collection comes
Right.
up, it's around, 70, 75%. You're going to get like the same 10 guys that are like
Yep.
tagged in the post. And I love being tagged. So continue to tag me. And if you would ever like to tag me, I will never be mad at you. I don't care what time of day it is. Go ahead and tag me if you'd like.
And then, okay, let's do a fun question here that you said is okay. But someone was asking um, customers or someone in the store that was rowdy or you just had to tell them to leave. Can you talk about
Yeah,
that story or something?
sure. So just like everybody else, we never want to have that awkward conversation. Um, Telling somebody that they need to leave,
Right.
right? Like it's just anybody that has worked in retail and has had to escort or tell someone that they're, either banned for the day or banned for a long time. It's just an awkward
Right.
process. It's never fun. Um, this one I actually don't feel bad about. So it was the customer was always a little off. Never so much that like we needed to say anything, but just a little out there. And it was right at like the height of COVID. He was waiting to come in. He got into it with a neighboring business. I don't even know what they started fighting
Sure.
about. But all of a sudden, I see him take off his sandal. He's trying to hit the person. He's trying to spit on the person. And this is like peak COVID. So this is when like everybody's talking about like spitting is like a crime. And it's just like kind of an absurd thing
Right.
to do. So I tell him like, hey, like you can't ever do that. Like we're considering banning
Right.
you. He sends me a tirade email at like 3 a.m. Just like yelling at me. And then the next day, I get a call from a neighboring store, and they said, "Hey, does this person shop with you?" And I said, "Yeah," and we're having problems with him. And he said, "Well, he just hit me in the face." And I said, "Okay,
Oh
that's
my.
it. Let's just ban this guy. Okay, let's just ban this guy from San Diego stores." So that is sort of my ultimate story of where someone was just so ridiculous that it's just like, nah, like
Yeah.
nah, you gotta
And
go. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, everyone, we have emotions, things like that. But my goodness, I've never been like, I need to spit on this person or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I see Andre is typing the legend in chat. So Andre, is sort of from a back seat. He loves the email, and I can't
Yeah,
post the
sure,
email
sure.
because not only is it awful, but it's personal information. But he loves that email because when we were discussing banning him, we were just reading this email, and I kid you not, it is the most outlandish like 9 paragraphs you would ever read. So
Um, and I think we've seen, especially in competitive scenes, people kind of get emotional, be driven to be very confrontational, even in some cases on camera, cheat at a big event.
hmm
We've seen some silly
yeah,
things, but yeah, as a store owner, balancing the we want to have welcome your business and welcome you into our store, but then having to lay down the law is
right.
just something that yeah, I'm glad I don't deal in sales.
More often than not, yeah, more often than not, it's just a
Right.
conversation, and just treat them like you would want to be treated. Whether that's a body odor issue or somebody that just got heated in a match and words were exchanged, and
Right.
just you can't do this, and here's why, and if you continue to do it, we're gonna have to ask you to leave permanently. And that we have never really had like a ton of flack with that. We try to give a lot of warnings and sort of like try to be as understanding as possible when these things happen. Because I've gotten mad during matches. I've never like threatened to punch somebody,
Or
but
spit on them.
like yeah, or spit on them. But like I get it, and I get that things can escalate and people can have bad days, and losing a really bad match or like you're winning in can sort of extrapolate that sort of bad day. So.
I mean, one of my little stories that I always remember is back when we had states. I was doing a winning in for top eight, and it was during affinity, and I played blue green anti affinity. Main deck oxidizes, destroying lands turn one, and I completely crushed the opponent to make it into the top 8. And I
Nice.
mean, words happened and was shaking of fists, and I just scooped up my cards and went over to the top 8 area, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I personally have been threatened a number of times. I am, I'm not oblivious. I know that this stuff happens, and it's happened to me
Right,
a lot, especially when I was playing,
right.
playing semi-competitively. Um, and yeah, it just kind of comes with the territory, especially at a competitive event. So you just kind of have to expect it and know how to navigate it and
Yeah.
de-escalate best you
You
can,
know,
or escalate if that's the kind of person you are. But I wouldn't suggest that. But I have seen the two escalators get into it with each other, and you're like, oh man, like this is gonna end so
yeah, the
badly.
two similar personalities going at it. Talking about,
Exactly.
let's go the
Yep.
opposite route. I noticed on social media posted you had an all women event or a gathering.
Hmm.
What are those kind of events? And let's talk about the inclusivity of your store and how that's important.
Sure. Yeah, so really those events are meant to be women focused, not women exclusive. I feel
Sure.
like that is sort of the misunderstanding. When we posted about that, we got a lot of comments like, "Oh, there's a guy in the background, like that's not a women event," and it's like, well, I mean that's not really the point, right? Like there's other people that are playing that are maybe not in that event. Maybe they're just playing their own game off to the side. Um, and really, I just think it's about being as open as possible with, who wants to come play
Right.
in your store. And I personally don't care what somebody wants to be or love or whatever. Like it just doesn't bother me. Like doesn't do anything in my life to like get
Right.
mad about it. And frankly, I don't think there's a reason to get mad about it. Um, so that is something that we're always on the lookout for, people that are sort of looking for those opportunities to sort of like support different types of communities. And really what it boils down to is a lot of people are timid about the game store. They just are. They've either heard horror stories or they just don't know enough about the game. And they want some sort of event like that where they can sort of not have to worry about anything other than just learning the game. And so those sort of welcome events is normally what
Right.
I like to call them. And there's a lot that are specific to different things like, women's night or whatever. Those are very important. And, we run a lot of new player specials and programs and stuff like that because ultimately we want new players to feel as comfortable as possible when they come to the store because we know that in certain cases there's already like a lot of anxiety issues or social or otherwise.
Yeah,
So
and I think that that's awesome. I mean, we want the gaming community to stay healthy and growing, and so part of that is making sure that everyone feels comfortable because it can be a lot of us who've been around this for a while. We don't understand walking into that game store for the first time. A bunch of people you don't know.
it's a second home to
Yeah,
us. Yeah. But I always attribute it to public speaking. So a lot of people are timid about public speaking unless you have
right,
done it a bunch. So I have done a lot of public speaking. I have done college courses. Public speaking is not hard for me, um, but it's hard for a lot of other people. So the same is true for Magic. A lot of people they've been doing this for over a year or over 10 years, and it's just very normal to them. And then you have the people who it's their first day and they are just like a brand
right.
new public speaker.
And we could go down a whole rabbit hole of how personalities and things like that influence deck choices.
Of
all
course,
the combo
yeah,
players are
absolutely,
introverts because they just want to play
yeah.
themselves and things like that. Oh, we got a question in the chat. Let's see. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from owning an LGS?
Biggest lessons learned. Hmm, that is a tough question. I would say that really when you're looking at whether or not you want to run or even open an LGS, you should do a couple of things first. You should work in retail for at
Okay.
least a year because at the end of the day, this job is retail. You should know that there's a lot of effort on the back end, especially as an owner. Most people, like especially if you're not in the store, maybe if you're working from home, you don't get like traditional days off where like the average person works 4 or 5 days and then they get a certain amount of days off. On my days off, I'm getting calls from distributors, staff has questions. I'm getting messages from people who want to sell
Right.
collections. It's time sensitive. So there's actually no real true day off. So you really have to fight for work life balance. You really have to fight for time off. Um, I would say prepare to have a lot of cash to enter this industry, especially right now. And I would say the best thing you could do is focus on new players and a welcoming event. A welcoming environment. And a lot of the other stuff will sort of fall in place if you start with those two fundamentals: welcoming new players, having a robust new player acquisition program in place, and then having a very welcoming environment.
Yeah, and then I think another question that kind of ties into that with what people, someone asked when you decided, okay, I need to get some staff, I need to start increasing staff. What did that look like, and how did you know? Okay, here's how many I'm going to need. Here's what I'm looking for in a staff.
Right.
When did that come along?
That was a little bit of a challenge for me because I did this by myself for so long, and sort of delegating tasks and relinquishing control over certain
Oh
aspects
yeah.
of the business was actually a bigger challenge for me than I anticipated. And I noticed that in the interim, and Art and I, especially, he was very strong willed with a lot of things. We clashed a lot. Um, and he pushed me in a lot of ways to do well, and he's a great guy, and the store uh, basically probably wouldn't be in the state that it is without a lot of what he did. Um, but because I had such an issue with relinquishing that control, it sort of created these environments where sometimes we would clash and we wouldn't agree. And he needed to be the manager, and I wasn't letting him be the manager, and so I was wrong in that regard. And I feel like I'm fine now. I'm a lot more hands off with a
Oh,
lot of the
okay.
stuff I handle. Yeah, uh, a lot of it was under the premise of opening potential other stores. I needed to know that the store could flourish with me for at least a month
Right.
or two without my involvement, at least without my in-store involvement. I can hop on a phone call, hop on Discord, and help out in that way. But I really wanted to, before I went and opened up multiple stores, I really needed to see if the store could do that. So, and it does. In the store, honestly, it runs great without me, and staff is fantastic. And I go in about once a week just to check in on stuff, and occasionally there's like something that I just need to bring up. But for the most part, those guys and girls are doing such a fantastic job, and I'm really thankful to have them working in the store.
Yeah, having the right people in the right places working with you is so important. And I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you've mastered finding the right people because everybody loves them, and everybody knows them.
Right.
Let's.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of that comes down to sort of like giving respect to them and finding creative ways to pay them better. I think we're like $3 or $4 above like industry
Oh,
standard for
great.
retail, and that is something that I take very seriously. I'm always trying to figure out new ways to get my staff more money. And if anybody's ever interested, Janet Yellen, she wrote a fantastic paper on the efficacy of basically just paying more. And there's a great study on that minimum wage should just be that the minimum, and you should always try to go above that. So anybody that's looking to like maybe you're running in LGS currently, try to find ways to pay your staff more, and frankly, they'll reward you by just like a happier work experience, and they'll do a better job there because they'll like
Yeah,
being
we're
there.
getting into the nitty gritty, but it's so true because in my HR life with the company I'm with, hiring people, paying that little bit of extra goes a long way to making them feel valued, and that's going to go right back to them doing their job well. So it's
Right.
very very important. Somebody said, "Oh, Zach said you have the best staff in San Diego, hands down." There you go. It's
Thanks,
official.
man.
It's
Appreciate
official.
it. Which Zach
The
is that?
the
There's
Popper
like multiple
champion.
Zachs. Popper champion. Okay. How's it going, Zach?
Yeah, paying more does work.
Back. Is he about to run it
I think
back?
he's going to run back.
Run it
I've
back for a
challenged
match?
him to do it with mono black, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. We'll
NTG
see.
streaming. Where would you open another store? I know I know that chains and things like that, but if you, I mean, do you keep that on your radar about locations or things like that?
Yeah, so normally what I do is I run like comp surveys. So I'm looking at like different demographics, like average household incomes, things like that. Um, and there's a few things that I'm really looking for. And I won't go over them now, but I have run demos in a lot of areas: Poway, Serra Mesa, Otay Ranch, where some of the places I haven't really found a place that I want to sort of open up
Sure.
another store yet, but it is on my radar. I need to be very conscious that I don't want to move too close to a store, an
Right,
existing
right,
store. It's just not going to do anything to get in a turf war. It's stupid for me. It's rude to
right.
the other store, and I'm not super interested in that. But there are underserved areas in San Diego. South Bay just recently got, I think, like one
Oh
or two
wow.
stores. I know one for sure, but maybe the second. And the South Bay area, Chula Vista and National City, those have massively been underserved for a very long time. And a lot of those folks have to drive 30 minutes, whether they're coming to us or somewhere else. Um, and so we were sort of looking at a mixture of places where we can be successful, but also sort of reaching those underserved players so they don't have to like drive so far, and they can sort of have a store in their backyard.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Starbucks opening across the street from a coffee store. You don't want to saturate the market too much.
Right. I mean, Starbucks is so ubiquitous that like it doesn't even
Sure,
matter anymore because everybody drinks coffee, but like not everybody plays
sure.
Magic. So it's a little bit more detrimental for us as opposed to Starbucks. Like two Magic stores can actually kill each other off if they move too close because they split the
Right.
customer base. Uh, so,
Um,
so yeah.
oh yeah, Will said he'd drive 30 minutes to BFG anytime. There we go.
That's very sweet of you, but we'll see how much you love us when you move away, and we'll see if you'll drive 20 hours to VFG.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna test your
Well,
love.
I don't know if you saw, but TwitchCon is in San Diego, so I'm definitely going to have to swing by
Oh,
if
great.
possible and catch up with some
Yeah, I
folks.
think it's been in San Diego pretty much since its inception. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's actually
I
always been in
don't
San
know.
Diego.
I'm kind of new on that, but I think so. And obviously, this is the first one back since COVID, so it'll probably be a big
Yeah.
thing. Some folks want to know on a what Magic, obviously, but like what are some games that you like that's not Magic, whether that's
Oh, sure.
digital. And I know with the kid, you're introducing them in the games and things like that. Like, what are some non-Magic games of yours?
Right. So my biggest game is Path of Exile. For anybody that hasn't played it, it's basically like probably closest to like
Right,
Diablo 2. So that's sort of like endless loot, but with a lot more focus on like the skill tree and in boss, but like in game bossing and things like that. and I've been playing that game fairly religiously. Like I play it pretty much
Oh
almost
wow.
every day for about 5 years. Um, and a lot of my Magic friends also play that. So we have a nice little like Discord group that we can sort of hop on and chat with each other while we're playing and things like that. So if anybody plays PoE, yeah, the skill tree is really rough. They actually just came out with an Atlas skill tree, so now you have two skill trees of
Oh
equal
really?
size.
Pretty complex
Um,
then.
yeah, because I think William plays D3. Favorite PoE class, Necro. So yeah, I'm pretty diehard Necro. I would say second favorite class is probably like Deadeye. So Ranger and Witch are my two favorites.
What about any
And
board
then
games or anything like that?
like I'll play like passively with like our neighbors. So my son's best friend lives across the street from us, so we'll get together with his parents and we'll play like code names and things like that. Nothing crazy. And then Andre and I we're playing Descent for we did it once. It's sort of an involved process, and then he's really busy with school, and I get busy with
Sure.
other stuff, and we haven't had time to play Descent again. But if anybody hasn't had a chance to play Descent, that game is super cool. Check it out. Check out like a playthrough. It's like a 3D dungeon crawler that's like app based, but you're also like building terrain and like fighting in like at a table
Oh
setting as
okay.
well. So it's kind of a digital and tabletop immersive type game. It's really cool. And then whatever like my son is into, like I'll just play with him. So like right now we're playing the new Kirby
Cool.
game, so we do 2 player. We play like Plants vs Zombies and stuff like that together. So that's pretty much it for my other
Yeah, there's
games.
only so many hours in a day. I want to play so many different things, and it's like, okay,
Right.
that'll take a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. Yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I missed was we're talking about magic sets. The sets themselves. Do you have any fond memories of like a favorite time in Magic, a set?
Yeah, so there's a couple. So Legends is one of my favorite sets, as is Mirage. Mirage has actually kind of a
I love
special place in my
Mirage.
heart because that was my first booster box that I ever got, and I wanted it so bad, and I told my mom, and she like did some like extra classes at like her school or like night classes or something so that
Oh
she could get it
wow.
for me. And man, I just remember opening that thing and I didn't get what I wanted, but it was like so sweet. I remember opening an LED and like getting upset about it. Like when you're like a little kid, you want a 1 mana 12/12. You don't want a
Give me a
stupid like zero
dreadnought.
mana like best card in the set. Like yeah, you wanted Dreadnought, you wanted silly things like Spirit
Yeah.
of the Night and Sawback Manticore and like all these like now are like kind of just like whatever rares. But yeah, so I probably traded or sold that LED for like 10 or $20 or something. And then when I got back into Magic, I really fell in love with the like Lorwyn era
Oh,
of Magic, like Lorwyn, Shadowmoor. Those were just really fun times. And I don't know if I'm so fond of them because the sets themselves, or if it's because that's when I sort of came back into Magic and like started meeting friends and playing the
right.
game again and things like that. So it's hard to know why, but I also do really love those sets, and I started popping off when Morrow mentioned that we may return to
Oh, no
Lorwyn
brainer. It's a no
one day.
brainer.
I got so excited when I saw that post because I would love to see what they would do with Lorwyn
Yeah, there's a
2.
few planes that we can probably take a break on now. Um, you know, let's go visit some ones we haven't. And it was fun. Yeah, Nick said
Yeah,
Lorwyn before he even said it. Yeah, it's a fan favorite, and so yeah, they would
it
they
is
would
very
have
good.
to go back to that. Any so as
Yeah, as much as I would love.
no,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
go ahead.
As much as I would love a fourth and fifth time going
I
to
was gonna
Ravnica,
say
I'd
that.
like to see a Lorwyn throw in some other stuff first. I'm totally cool with going back to Ravnica endlessly, but I want to see some other stuff
Yeah,
first. Whether that's a new plane or we're getting Brothers War, so that might be
yeah.
cool.
It's
Makes me curious to
in the
see what.
lineup this year. Let's talk specifically about that. It obviously, I think that Kamigawa was knocked out of the park, super successful. Everyone loved it. Any other sets
Oh
coming
yeah,
up that you're excited
yeah.
about?
That set broke records. Um, so Unfinity for sure. I think those sets are
Oh my
like
god,
fantastic. They're just super fun. Um, I'm really curious to see what like their little like legal. There's like some of the cards are legal from
it,
Infinity. I'm
yeah,
really
that's
curious
really
to see
cool.
how that goes because that's an interesting idea. And then so Streets of New Capenna so far hasn't like sort of like grasped me quite like Kamigawa or some of the other sets. So I know that like Andre and a couple other people are like really excited for this set. But I think I'm gonna need to like see a lot more of the set before I get excited about it. And then I really want to see what they do with Brothers War, just because that sort of like harkens back to when I was playing and stuff like that.
Dominaria,
So
yeah.
see how much of the nostalgia they can churn out. They did a good job with
I
Dominaria.
mean, that's
So
my favorite plane. We kind of are lining up of when we started playing and favorite sets. Yeah, I'm right with you. A lot of fond memories from Dominaria and things like that, and the story.
yeah.
As far as sets that you've seen recently, let's. I know that COVID affected things, but like sales, have you were talking about it? Is Kamigawa kind of made blown everything out of the water recently, or has there been a recent set that's sold better than
Yeah,
others?
Kamigawa broke records. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that thinks that. I'm sure it did well, basically at every store. I've seen a lot of retailer comments in like the WPN group, and it was just all like kind of the same feedback where it was just like the set is nuts. Like we can't get enough of it. Our players are going nuts for it. Um, and I think my favorite part about that is that Kamigawa was so hit or miss with the player base. Some people loved it, some people couldn't
I
stand
loved
it.
it.
And it's really nice that this second time around, it is like well received, like across
Yeah.
the board. Like probably 90-95% of active Magic players like that set. And I love seeing stuff like that because the worst thing that could have happened with Kamigawa is like it was not a great set, and then it's like it goes down as like
Yeah.
the sort of the sort of like deep of magic, if
Oh
you can say.
yeah. I loved just because I have fond memories of playing competitively that time, things like that. I love that set, but boy, yeah, it had such a terrible viewpoint on. I was when they announced that they were coming out with going back to Comic Con. I'm like, oh no, don't fail me. Come on, come on.
Yeah, it was really mixed. A lot of people were like, "Oh no, 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 I can't do this again," and then other people were like, "I loved Kamigo. I can't wait to go
Yeah.
back." Yeah, it was very polarizing.
Yeah, and they did the lore right. It was really cool, kind of the cyberpunk ish theme, and the ninjas and the newer stuff. It's just whoever they've got going.
Man, what a risk
What is
though.
that?
That was such a
Yeah,
risk because if like on the surface, if I told you that the next set is going to be like clown dolphins, like you're going to be like I don't know, and like cyberpunk ninjas kind of came off as the same way, where it was kind of like, oh, like is that going to do well? And it did very
yeah,
well. So I think yeah, so sometimes these ideas that kind of sound like maybe they're not gonna be very good, they find a way to make it work, and the set was just like every aspect, like from the art, from the storyline, from the characters. It just they did a very good job across the board with
yeah.
the
It,
set.
it was just a. I go back. I always say home run. They really did
Right.
on all different
Yeah.
aspects. Folks, if you're in the chat and you've got a question, let us know. We've been kind of plugging along. I don't want to keep Shawn forever here, but if you got some questions, let us
Did
know.
did we happen to go over all of the original questions?
A
Do you
lot
know?
of them were a little bit of overlap. I'm going through them right now.
Okay.
We talked about the how your path on going to the store and everything, and oh, here's a good one. Was there any product I think we touched on a little bit, but talking about sets in general, any sets you thought were going to be great and were just complete duds?
Ooh. Yes. Um, Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt. I thought those were going to be knockout sets. I thought the premise was super cool. I thought the Innistrad is kind of one of those like Ravnica type sets where the set alone, like the name alone, does like a lot of heavy lifting, and it just fell very flat with the player base and the community, and we struggled to sell
Oh
through on
wow!
that set, and people sort of came out and they still played their pre-releases and they got the initial boxes, and then there wasn't a whole lot of interest beyond that, beyond pre-release. So I think it was a mixture of things. I just feel like, personally, I don't know what went wrong with the set because when I look at it, um, like I don't necessarily see a bad set or
Right.
anything like that. But for whatever reason, players weren't super interested in the set. And then the other one was Kaldheim. I was super excited for
Yes,
Kaldheim. I'm Norwegian, so the idea of like giant buff people with like axes in the snow is
that's
very
right.
appealing to me. And I still maintain that set is super cool. But again, it sold very poorly, and I don't know if that was because it released in a weird part of
Right. Who
COVID
knows?
where stimulus was kind of like not really, there wasn't really a lot of stimulus, and then there might have already been like some wallet fatigue with sets, and then it just whatever else was going on with the set just fell a little short.
Will asked, and that wall of fatigue. I want to get back to that one, but Will asked, "What is there been kind of a warm and fuzzy moment running the store? Is there something where you kind of been like, wow, this is why I did it?"
Yeah, every time a new player comes in, and they are visibly excited after we start talking to them about Magic, whether it's me or staff, I will literally stop doing what I'm doing just to listen to like staff get excited with a new player, and then they get excited, and then they're like
Right.
laughing, and then they're like, what do you want to get?" And then they talk about it, and then they got a new commander, or they got a challenger deck, or whatever. That is my favorite part of doing this. It's one of the main reasons why, I'm not going to quit
Right.
anytime soon.
Right.
Like it's a good job. But if it was bad, that would be one of the things that keeps me in it. And because we have a lot of focus on new player incentives and
Mm-hmm.
things like that, we get a ton of referrals. So we get to work with a lot of the new players in San Diego, which is fantastic. And I'm about to roll out a super cool
Okay.
program where new players get, all right, so listen to this. So new players are going to get, and this is all free. So if you're new and you come into the store and you express interest in Magic, you're going to get a free 2-player arena starter
Okay.
deck. You're going to get a 400 count box of random commons and uncommons. You're going to get a couple of promotional cards and a welcome booster that's from specifically Wizards. You're going to get you're going to get 2 coupons. The first one is your first event
Oh
is free,
wow.
whether that's constructed, draft, or pre-release. It's free. You're going to get a 10% off coupon for your first order of supplies. So if you get like a bunch of deck boxes or like some other stuff, it's going to be 10% off your first
Amazing.
order. And then we also have that new player quest. So the new player quest is really like a cool way for people to experience all the different aspects of Magic. Have you ever seen the new player quest in the
No.
store? Okay, so the new player quest is kind of off to the side, and generally it's not brought up unless you're new. Then we bring it up, and on the back of it, it says like, play a game of Magic, and then you get an initial, and then play in a draft, and then you get an initial, and you do these different things. You play in a constructed event, you play in a pre-release event, and if you tick all those boxes, you get to pick your choice of either a bundle, 12 boosters, or I think it was two, not Challenger decks, but Planeswalker
Okay.
decks. Those are since gone, so the new one will be a little bit different. But um, yeah, Matt saying he's new to Magic. Yeah,
Everyone's
everybody's
going to
suddenly
come
going to
in
be
in
new to Magic
costume now,
after it rolls
Shawn.
out in like a week or two. And I'm letting this cat out of the bag a little bit early because we're still like amassing the
Sure.
resources and like talking it over
No,
with
that's
staff and
great.
like how's it going to be presented and all that stuff. But I'm super excited for that because it knocks down almost all of the barriers. It knocks down a lot of the sort of like minuscule initial purchases. So like the 2-player deck, it's a great example. We sell that in store for like $7, so it's
Right.
like nothing. Um, but it takes care of that. So new kids that maybe don't have a lot of money, here you go. Here's a deck. Here's a bunch of stuff. Have fun. First event, you don't have to worry about anything with your first event. You just have to show up. So it sort of knocks down some of the barriers. So then all anybody has to get through when they come into the store is sort of that initial social anxiety or fear about making a misplay and looking like an idiot and everybody's laughing at you even though no
Right.
one really cares.
And you still do it when you've
So
been playing for years.
exactly. Yeah. So by removing those barriers, we are hoping that more people get into the game, want to play in store, want to get into certain aspects. So I hope that it does well. So we're going to run it for about 3 months, see how it does. If it does well, then we'll keep it on. If not, then we'll move on to other
Well, that's
things.
exciting. And as you get, a very, your structure in place, I want to make sure to pass that along to all my San Diego channels, because and get
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
get as much word out about that as possible. Because and then going back to it being about the new players, I think that being a parent, seeing your kid's eyes light up or learn something new and have something new, you see that in a new player or somebody that's coming to your store that's new, and you get that same vibe that's really meaningful. So that's awesome that you're
Right.
doing what you can there to get that going in the store.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you had talked about a little bit of some folks have talked about product overload. Wizards is releasing. I mean, we've got secret layers on top of secret layers. There's a lot of product coming out. There's a lot of special products, different versions of cards. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, how does that affected things?
I think it's good for the game overall. I think it addresses a long-standing complaint in the Magic community, and that's cards are too
Mm-hmm.
expensive. And look, cards are still expensive, and there's still the reserve list, and there's still plenty of things that we can work on. But right now is probably the cheapest standard has ever been, will
I
ever
agree.
be. And that's because every single rare and mythic has 5 different versions. You have the upper echelon for the collectors, for the people that want to pimp out their, modern legacy decks. And then all that does is it suppresses the prices of normal version cards to the point of where I don't want to say that they're not worth anything, but you know, uh, it's very rare for a rare to break that $10 ceiling
Right.
these days. And in the past, we have seen rares and mythics, and they're 20-30 bucks, and then the rares and mythics are 50 to 100, and sort of those other printings sort of push that down so that it becomes a more affordable game. And I think that for all the complaints about there's too many versions, I can't keep up, I feel like that is a worthy sacrifice, I guess, to have too many printings to sort of address that larger problem.
Yeah, I think initially it's like, wow, it's overwhelming. As a collector, as someone that likes to get every single card, but at the same time, it has lowered the entry cost because you were talking about new players. Back when you and I first started playing, the game was a little bit cheaper than it is now, and some of
Absolutely.
those you want to lower the barrier to get into these new games that you don't have to all of a sudden just buy a modern deck out of the blue. Let's get you into
Right.
drafting or find. I think they've been doing a great job with the Commander products. They've gotten
Yeah.
much better, and anything that could be done to make it more affordable for newer players.
No, absolutely, I agree. And when you and I were playing, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember seeing Sliver Queens in cases for like over
Hmm.
$100. Mox Diamonds were like 30, $40, which sounds very cheap by today's pricing, but if you consider that they're rares, I mean that's pretty
Oh
expensive
yeah.
for a card. I mean, imagine if there was $100 rare in standard right now. That would be there would be a lot of discussion about that and whether or not if that's good for the game or not. And we've seen that a few times. I think the first time I ever saw a card be like a non like alpha beta unlimited card go over $20 was like Jester's Cap. It was like 25
Oh
bucks.
yeah,
And
Jester's
I
cap.
remember, yeah, I know. And I remember me and all my friends, we were like, oh man, like we're never going to be able to afford that. Like that's $25. Like how the heck are we going to get that? And by those standards, rares back then used to be, occasionally 20 or $30. And now we don't necessarily have that problem.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
I
good.
mean, Jester's cap. Boy, you're taking me back now. It's just like it's much. Besides a few random cards, you can pretty much get everything standard, the newer sets, and put together a deck much cheaper than you have been in a long
Yeah,
time. Because I remember standard
absolutely.
decks being very expensive.
Yeah.
Chad, or anybody else have any questions? Is it's talking about, yeah, Stronghold? Yeah, that was a good set. And,
Were there any WPN premium questions or anything like that? Anything that pertains to, I guess, sort of like the more WPN side?
not
Or is it mostly just the
yeah,
store
the store
focus?
and Shawn focus.
Okay.
Everybody, you're a legend in the community. But let's. I'd like to actually we can talk about that a little bit because I remember when you were going the WPN premium. What's a few things that you did to obtain that, and what were a few of the requirements?
Sure. So I see a lot of misinformation about the program. Um, the things like it's too expensive or they're you're not let in because there's already a store in the area that's WP. Like a lot of this stuff is not true. And so I think the best thing any store owner can do is just contact your rep and open up the dialogue and find out what you need to become WPM Premium. It is a rigorous process. It is not as bad as I think most people assume it's
Oh,
going to
really?
be. There there are going to be some stores that are immediately out. Those are places that maybe don't have like an ADA compliant bathroom. Maybe there's like stairs required to get to your store, and no other way to get in there. So there are going to be some unfortunate situations like that. But my assumption is that like 90% of stores could be premium if they put in the work. And whatever financial burdens you do encounter, there are WP grants.
Oh, wow.
So let's say you needed to fix your store and there was a particular project that was going to be, I don't know, $25,000. That's a huge financial burden for a lot of stores. And they may just be like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay $25,000. WPN has a grant program where they will pay half of that cost. So they will match your 12,500 for that project. So you still are paying
Right.
something, but not every project is going to be 25,000. A lot of them are going to be like, I have to redo my floors. It's going to be like $8,000. So you pay four, they pay four. So there's a lot of things like that they offer to sort of bridge that gap. Um, uh, so it's sort of more about like doing the initial checklist, seeing sort of what you 100% know that you are would
Right.
pass on, or at least reasonably assume that you would pass on, and then open up a dialogue with your rep, and they'll have you do like a video walkthrough of your store and talk about what you would need to change. And then where most people fall off is I had to shoot 7 videos.
Oh, wow.
So I shot a video, talked with my rep. He would tell me things that were wrong. We would fix them. And then I would fix them and then I would go back and rinse and repeat. So after a while, you're doing all this work, you're not getting rewarded for, or you feel like you're not getting rewarded for it. And people sort of give up, and that's what I hear. What happens a lot of the time is if people give up when they're in the middle of the process. And if they just took a minute and sort of looked at what they did, they have vastly improved their store, and they're sort of working towards something larger. So even though they feel defeated, they have not hit their goal, look at what they have created. So whether that is, cleaning clutter or painting a
Right.
wall or putting up or getting better chairs or, making sure that the bathroom is tidy and reasonably stocked, or putting up a code of conduct so that people feel welcomed when they come in your store, because there is a sort of a measurable expectation of how people should act in your store.
That's true.
These are all things that are tangible and grow your store and are beneficial to you. And you shouldn't give up just because you're not getting that. You should keep moving forward, because all you're going to end up doing is making your store better
Right.
anyways. So if I never got WP and Premium, but I was just perpetually in this program working towards something, I mean, my store is just going to get better for it. So, there's really no downside to not being in the program because it's
Right.
free. And at the absolute worst, you have a occasional meeting with your rep to discuss things that need to be fixed to work towards this thing. And then you can choose to not do them or do them, but at least you know what you need to do, and you can sort of work towards that. And the benefits are great. I mean, the Commander Collection foil alone is a good chunk of
Right.
change. So any financial burden, like we got like 80 or 90 copies of that. If you just assume that will cover the most of your financial burden while you're in the
Right.
process, you'll be better
And
served, I
then
think.
the store championship with the logo on there. Oh man, I wanted one of those.
Yeah, you get a lot of really cool
Yeah.
stuff, and it's a lot. Some of it is to make you money, and some of it is to support your community, and there's a really good balance between those two things. Um, and yeah, the program is great, and frankly, for all the crap that the Wizards gets for that program, look at the stores 4 years ago, and then look at them now, and you will see a massively elevated industry that is trying to get past the clubhouse, the dirty clubhouse mentality, and into an actual inviting retail setting that's like fun to play at.
Right.
So I think, yeah, I think as long as this program is going to be around, and I would love to see it in other industries. Games Workshop did it for Warhammer. What else? Pokemon. I would just love to see these companies sort of like dump these promotional dollars or marketing dollars into the stores that sort of buy their products to sort of elevate them into a more professional retail setting.
Yeah, it makes it feel more inviting because we had touched on how game stores back in the day were kind of hit or miss. About how
Right.
inviting they
Mm-hmm.
felt, how clean they
Yep.
were. Gamers sometimes have that sometimes reasonable belief of put on some deodorant or do this, and so
Sure.
so
Sure.
having an environment where you can come and play, that you feel safe and it's a clean and well maintained environment is definitely something that I think is smart to push.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And I'm glad that a lot of other retailers are starting to see that as well, because we're all sort of moving past. And, I have no, I'm not obtuse. I understand that, when I started, my place definitely had a clubhouse feel. There was stuff everywhere, and the premium program really helped me just sort of hone in on like, yeah, you know what? These things aren't very professional. When you have a second set of eyes, you can like sort of feel that
Right.
critique. You can sort of see through a different lens, and then you fix those things, and you're like, wow, I wish I had made these changes a long time ago because my store feels a lot better.
Yeah, and obviously you've had a lot. It's only improved things. What are you've talked about a few things, but what is like the perk of being a premium store? premium dope?
Sure. I'll go over the workload. So after you're approved, you have to resubmit a video once a year, and then you have to submit data once a month. And so that data, compiling it, sending it, takes me about 15 to 20 minutes. And then once a year, I have to shoot a video. So we're looking at an hour tops. And then if I'm not approved, then I would go back through the submission, and then I would have to change some things. So there's an unexpected. So for my, what is that, 5-6 hours of upkeep work in a year, I get, I've done the math. So I get about $40,000 in net sales of additional product.
Oh, wow.
And then, so that was for 1 year. And then I get, excuse me. So it was about $40,000 mix of net profit and exciting promotion. So a perfect example is the yellow Hitotsukas.
Yeah.
So I would value those at about $200, $300, somewhere around there. I haven't looked in like a week or so. So while I cannot directly sell those, I can give them away, which I am rewarded with additional sales from people who continue to shop. I can use them as sales incentives. So you can sort of create this indirect revenue through those exciting promotions. So yeah, it's about $40,000 for a smaller store, because we're at sort of the top for player metrics. So we're like right below the highest amount of like promotional support that you can get. So for smaller stores, they're probably looking at about anywhere from like 5 to 15,000, which is still really good, especially since smaller stores tend to be in rural areas, where like their gross is, maybe like $100,000 or $200,000 a year. So having that additional, 5 to 7% bump in income for 6 hours of your time is definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's a big payoff. And what Will say, he bought $50 of stuff for that fabled passage.
Right.
Hey, we all aren't great speculators, Will.
Yeah, a lot of people.
What I think someone had talking about speculations I've never been good at. I think the best one I heard was they bought up all the arc-like phoenixes when they were like $1 and then they exploded. But boy,
that's a good one.
Hindsight's 2020.
I know. My first big hit was the Shallow Grave. I bought like 60 or 70 of those things at $2. And then there was a deck called Tin Fins that came out. It was a legacy deck. And it shot up to like $30.
Nice.
And sold them all. So I used to be involved in like quiet speculation and a little bit, and then it sort of moved past what I was kind of interested in. It came into like flips and like you have to be like 30 seconds to TCG player, or you like all the good copies or so. So I just wasn't really super interested in that. But I like to passively look at what people are doing and sort of critiquing like their specs.
I'm still waiting on all my battering rams from Antiquities to jump up in price, but.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think you'll be holding that back.
Yeah,
for a while,
that's gonna be sad for sure. Anyone else have any? We're coming up on kind of almost a 2-hour mark. It's time flies when you're having fun.
Final questions. Now's your chance.
Burning questions.
I'll never talk to you ever again.
Talking about this, Shawn, what I would like, something to do would be at some point, a short little, maybe even YouTube video of tour your store, and we could put that online. Sure. And because, a lot of people are interested in how stores look around the country and how you've got yours set up and what a WPM premium store looks like. Some places live in areas, a lot of folks live in areas where you don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think a lot of people are premium and they just don't realize it because they either think they're not, or they just, they're annoyed that they even have to like do the process or, whatever. And it's just like, I see a lot of stores and they're like, yeah, I don't know if we're doing really well. And I'm like, well, your store looks just as good as mine. It's just different. And you might, you just tweak some things. You gotta keep some cord management. You got like a TV cord dangling, like that's $10 on Amazon to fix, and a little bit of DIY stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I would love to do a MTV Cribs of
Hey,
game stores. I think that would be that'd
I
be a
think
fun
I think it'd be
series.
great, and to put it up on YouTube and folks know, hey, when you're coming to San Diego,
Yeah.
you've got to check this place out. Yeah, Will, we talked a little bit about the Pro Tour, but just to kind of end on it, I think we both think it's great, and the announcement was great, and it's just going to continue to drive Magic excitement. Any kind of organized play from the.
Yeah. I can tell you that with this Pro Tour announcement, it's the first time I have had an inkling to want to play
Ooh,
competitively in a very long time. The last time I really wanted to play competitively was when they had the larger PTQ events, whereas like the
yep.
180 person, like one person like takes it. And I think they changed it towards the end where like after a certain amount of people, like a certain amount of people would
Yeah,
like get an
top
invite or
top
something
eight
like
or
that.
top four. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So I am excited to see what the sort of first couple of events
right.
are going to be, and frankly, I'm excited to get out there and play some
Oh
Magic
boy, we're
myself.
gonna see Shawn on the grind
I
again. I can't
know,
wait. Um,
first
and then
time gunslinging in
I can't
like
wait.
2 years, two or three
Yeah.
years.
Well, I'll have to be sure to see that in person. One
Yeah.
thing I don't know. I almost forgot, but I'm always curious when we're talking about Magic and talking about personalities. What's your favorite color or color combinations?
So I think most people would pigeonhole me into green because I played elves religiously in Legacy. Like it's still like
I
the only
love it.
deck that I have put together for Legacy. But blue red is actually one of my more favorite color combinations, and then Naya. So I would say probably a split between those two. Naya, I got to the finals of states a number
Okay.
of years back. I had really bad beats against my mono red opponent, which is a good matchup for me. But he went turn three Boros Reckoner, turn four Boros Reckoner, turn five Boros Reckoner, and it was just a wall that I couldn't deal with, and I couldn't draw. My Path to Exiles or excuse me, yeah, Path to Exile, and I just lost that game. It was bad beats, and then blue red, I played this one deck religiously, and it was not a very good deck, but I had so much fun with it. It was Inferno Titan and
Oh
Frost
my
Titans
goodness.
and Desperate Ravings and like a bunch of just like random counter magic and drawn. It wasn't a very good deck, but I tend to play like weird
Right.
quirky decks. Like I played 5C Cascade for a number of years. I played Green White Little Kids for like almost a year. I played this deck called Kolfanor's Plans, which was like a super super weird deck. It was during like Lorwyn Shadowmoor era, and that it ran Esper Charm with Broodmate Dragon and Cryptic Command and Austere Command in the
Oh,
same
I
deck.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, which just sounds so bad, but you had the Vivid Lands and you
Right.
had Reflecting Pool, so like your mana was great. Like you had
Yeah,
no mana issues.
that you can't do that nowadays with all those. What is that? The invoke, where it's the three colors. It's not as easy without reflecting pools and things like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate your time, Shawn, and I hope this has been fun. I know that a lot of people enjoy. We're going to put this out on YouTube for posterity, for people to watch and comment on.
Very
Um,
cool. I'll be excited to see comments like 5 years from now being like, "That's wrong. That's not how the Pro Tour
yeah,
works
it
anymore." And
was
I'll
a
be
big
like, "That's
mistake.
how it worked then. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's been 5 years."
But I
What are you talking about? WPN Premium? That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, they changed it to WPN Excellence, or
yeah,
whatever.
and if we want to do this again, especially as unsets coming up or later on in the year, and talk about what you have
Yeah,
going on there, and just catch up on the more fun because I can talk about decks and memories all day. I kind of wanted to
absolutely.
focus on this with the announcement and then your view on the store owner, but it'd be fun just to kind of talk about gaming and Magic in general.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've done a couple of interviews like this, and my opinions have evolved over time, and it's fun to sort of look back at on these things and think like, oh, like, I don't really think that is right anymore. That's kind of interesting, and it's kind of cool to see, like, have these sort of frozen in time moments where you
Yeah,
can kind of
what
go
did
back
they call it
and
when they
figure out,
bury it
what
and
was
then
I
they dig
thinking
it
of
up
that?
later? Time capsules, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
right.
the most current thing that's like that are Facebook memories. Something will pop up on Facebook memory, and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
goodness,
sure.
really? That's where I
Yeah.
was in life.
Like, what was I thinking? What's going on in my head
Or
when
I
it
had
comes to
hair.
that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're the bald
Yeah.
beer crew
That's
here,
long gone.
folks.
Yep.
But I
Yep.
really appreciate it, Sean. I hope that everybody's enjoyed it. I know a lot of San Diego regulars love love your store, love what you do, love the folks that are there, and you're doing something right. And the game is healthy. Hopefully, the stores remain healthy, and yeah, just I wish nothing but the success for you and the store there.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you taking the time, and everybody else taking the time to ask questions and hang out with us. And if anybody has any follow up questions, you can reach out to us through, Crabtree's Discord, or, reach out to me on Twitter, Brute Force MTG. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer any follow ups. Maybe you didn't have a chance to make it, or maybe you're watching this in the future on YouTube and you have a follow up question. I'm always happy to
Absolutely, and
discuss.
bring those new players to the store. That's how we keep this game going.
Yeah, I'm
That's
excited about
awesome.
that. I love. I've been working on this for a few months, so I'm
Yeah,
excited to
that'll be
see what it
awesome,
does.
Sean. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. We're gonna do the stream raid to somebody, a buddy of mine, and we'll be talking to you all later. Everybody, take care.
All right, thanks everybody. Talk to you later.